Welcome to another video from Cardboard East. My name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. Woo! We did it. 4 videos, 20 games, and the final 5 games that I'm going to be reviewing that I got at Tokyo Game Market 2024. Okay, it's not all of them. I think like there are 2 more that I need more time because it's all in Japanese and I don't read Japanese and I have to translate a lot. I mean, a lot of Japanese. Did I say Chinese earlier? First up is Seaside Cottage. No, actually, no, not quite. Not Seaside Cottage. This is just an expansion box for Aqua Garden. I put the actual game inside. So we're going to be talking about Demon Dragon One Must Slay. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce the Japanese name, but translated into English, it literally means demon dragon, you gotta slay it, or one must slay. So one must slay the demon dragon, or slay the demon dragon if you want something a little bit more poetic. But this game didn't come in a box. It came in a plastic bag, which is why I gave it a box, because carrying it around in a plastic bag or putting a whole bunch of plastic bags on my shelf would be weird. Demon Dragon comes from Syrup Games, which is mostly known for Politrickers, which is the fireman trick-taking game, which plays to like 4 or 5. And they're also known for this game, Twin Princes Reborn Edition, which is definitely one of my favorite games. This and Politrickers both made my top 100 games from Japan of all time. So I was really curious what Syrup Games was coming up with this year. Demon Dragon is a trick-taking game, and before anything else, I gotta say, the art on this game is fantastic. Now, this is just a prototype. What do I mean by prototype? Well, it doesn't seem to be finished because it comes in a plastic bag. So there's number 1. Number 2, but the art is so phenomenal. The little dragon tokens, which this is the head, and you get like little body tokens here, are not the greatest quality, but they get the job done. So I'm hoping that he'll develop this game a little bit more and make it more widely available, because I think what the basis is here is pretty solid. The story of the game is very, very similar to The Legend of Siegfried. So essentially there's a demon dragon and there's a feudal lord of Japan, and he's like, you know what? I gotta kill the demon dragon. So he goes and kills the demon dragon. But it's very difficult. And this game, is mean. Demon Dragon, in its bare bones, it's just a must-follow trick-taking game. But the few twists are that every time you win a trick, you get another piece of the body, and each piece of the body is worth 5 points. Now, I wrote that. This is Japanese or Chinese for 5, and I thought it would just be clever. So you take this up, and it's 5 points. So yay, every trick you win is 5 points. The twist here is that if you win a purple card, well, then you get negative points equal to the value of that number. So that can be quite painful. In fact, there are only 11 pieces of the dragon, including the head, and that's 55 points. But ranging from 1 to 12 is like negative 23 with the 25. So every round, there's on average negative 23 points. So you are being in the negative through the majority of the game. It is quite brutal. Now, in order to offset this, you have rotating trump, which is just this deck of cards, and then every round you're just going to flip over a card, and that's trump. And these are all the suits in the game. There are 4 suits: red, blue, green, purple, and that's stuff like Ninja Star, Amulet, Skull for the purple, which is negative points. But the green is dope. So this shouldn't be something that's too novel. You have some rotating trump, and each round you don't reshuffle the deck. Whatever was trump stays out in the discard pile, and then a new card comes out on top. So you should be able to math it out a little bit. Now, whoever has the purple 12, which is brutal if you get stuck with, you will announce to everyone that you have the 12, which is eye-raising for everyone, because everyone's like, oh, you have the worst card in the game. What they'll do is at the beginning of the game, or beginning of the hand, they're going to split their hand in 2, meaning that they can take any number of cards from their hand and divide it in half and put the other like face down on the table. So you could be something like, like 5 and 5. And then once you play the first 5, well, then you can pick up the next 5 and play out. But there's no set number. So long as there's 1 card on the table, you're good to go. But that can mean quite a few things. That means you could short shoot yourself of certain hands, and then play the second hand. Then once you thought they were out of a suit, nope, they could have that suit again. So it gives that person a chance to get rid of the 12, which is quite frightening because when you play at a table, you know that the 12 is coming, but you don't know if it's going to come first half or second half of the game, and you know who it's coming from. So the moment that they're short of a suit, there is this little tension at the table. It's like, oh, it's going to come. The hammer's going to drop. And usually the hammer drops and you find out that they're short of a suit. But there are games where you kind of want to lead trump, and that's fine. You could do that in this game, but you never want to lead purple because then you could be absorbing tons of purple. Now, if you have the one purple, it's brutal to lead off with that because then you know whoever's going to win that trick, they're going to get a lot of negative points. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. If you shoot the moon and you get all the purple cards, which I've never seen happen yet, you get positive 80 points, 80, and everyone else gets minus 25, which to me just means that you're going to win the game. When does the game end? Well, it ends if someone shoots the moon, personally, in my opinion. But the game should end if any one player gets negative 50 points or they have rounds equal to players. Now, I feel conflicted because I really enjoyed this game. The artwork alone is so phenomenal. It's just gorgeous to look at. The cards are just beautiful to look at. This is something that you would see on a Yakuza's back. It looks just really, really rad. But there are, on average, negative 23 points per round, and it can be quite punishing. So if you are very strongly adverse to negative points, I don't know if I could recommend this to you. I would like to have seen it done to where you add up all the purple cards that you've won throughout the hand and maybe divide by 2. That seems less painful than whoever has the highest score. And then you would have to remath shooting the moon somehow. But yeah, it's really brutal with all the negative points. Also, if you got this game out of Tokyo Game Market, then you got 2 extra cards. These are the backs and these are the fronts. I didn't know what these were. These weren't in the rulebook whatsoever. So I reached out to the publisher and he's just like, oh, no, you just show this to me in the future and then I'll give you like a special bonus or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't realize that. I, on the fly, came up with a house rule for what these were. And I took a note from, well, a Bezier game called Sandbag, which is a trick avoidance game. And it comes out in June. Sorry, shameless plug. But in that game, if you are behind, then you get like an auto slough card, and that allows you to play this card into the trick, and you're guaranteed to not win that trick. So my house rule was that in a 3-player game, the player with the lowest score takes 1 card, or the players with the 4 or 5-player game, the 2 players with the lowest score get a card each, and they would take this card, enter the hand, and then take another card and remove it from the game. And then this will just be an auto slough card. When they play out, they're guaranteed to not win that trick. I found that to be a little bit more easing of the pain because the negative points are quite brutal. But is it a solid trick taking game? Yes. Is it scoring brutal? Yes. Will that appease everyone? No. Also, this game would be kind of hard to find, and I think that Syrup is trying to dial the mechanics a little bit and therefore try to make the game feel a little bit better. Last Dungeon. Now, this is Last Dungeon dice. In fact, this is just a little bag that you can get at Tokyo Game Market. Inside, you'll see 2 more little micro card games, and then obviously dice, which is the reason why I think he came up with the bag. Now, this comes from Jugami Studios. They have made a lot of great games over the years, and so I'm always curious to see what Jugami comes out with every year. And this year, it was Last Dungeon dice. Now, this is a continuation of the Last Dungeon series. A few years ago, they came out with Last Dungeon. Now, Last Dungeon is a solo game, and these are all solo games, by the way. This is a deck building solo game. You are the lord of a dungeon. No, that's not true. You're the manager, like the COO of a dungeon. And then all these heroes are coming in trying to kill your boss. So your job is to set up the traps, make sure that you kill all these heroes, so that way they don't get to the dungeon. If you're not able to kill a hero, they'll do damage to the dungeon and shorten the tunnel, so that way they'll progress through the tunnel. And you're just trying to make sure that they don't kill your boss and they don't steal your boss's hard-earned stolen treasure. Now, Chugami took this system and made it a dice game, and dare I say, I think the dice game is a lot better. This is very similar to the same thing, except now with the dungeon of the heroes moving down the dungeon, they're just removing dungeon cards. So they're physically destroying your dungeon. The story is phenomenal. Apparently, you did such a great job that you have been placed in charge of the most important dungeon of the dungeon lord, demon lord, and so he wants you to do a really good job of managing this dungeon. And then for some reason, the demon lord decides to kidnap the princess, and now every single hero in the land is coming into your dungeon, and you have to just manage it and just find a way to make it work. I'm sure a lot of us will sympathize with that main character. Now, the difference with this one is that instead of a deck of cards that you're kind of looking at and trying to play through, this one just has dice. You only have a tableau of 3 cards. I think you begin off with like 2 traps. So if you roll, and you roll 3 d6s, if you roll a 1 or a 3, you put it on there, you do that much damage. And then the other one allows you to re-roll another die. So you have like deal 1, 2, 3 damage, 1, 2, 3 damage, or re-roll. And every time a hero comes in, you'll try to kill them instantly. If you kill them, great. You could either spend your money and convert them and add them to your tableau, or you could just turn them into money and then you just have money on hand. Now, if they enter your tableau, they have to replace one of your 3 slots, as it were. And the card that was in that slot, it's going to turn sideways and potentially give you a bonus for your attack, which is really, really cool and interesting, a nice little twist to see that there's multifunctional uses or multiple uses for these cards. But you're always going to have 3 slots. If you don't kill the hero, well then they're going to damage your dungeon, which I mentioned before. And there's a third action where you could just spend your money and just repair your dungeon, which is wildly expensive. Now, I have played this twice. I lost the first time, but I won the second. There is a lot to translate here. Thankfully, Google Lens, I just hold my phone up and I can see what the hero does. The game mechanics themselves are really, really easy, but the cards themselves can be a little bit confusing, so I just use Google Lens to translate each card and I'm able to play just fine. But I really like the puzzle here. And in between each hero, so like level 1, level 2s, and level 3s, they'll become an event and then you'll just get like some random thing, something that'll give you a cool little artifact, like maybe, I don't know, I assume that your boss throws your bows like, hey, good job. Here you go, a little bonus. And these would be like add 1 to all your die rolls, re-roll all your dice, and several other things to help mitigate those die rolls. Now, I will say that this does something that I'm really happy with, and that it makes combat simple and very straightforward. It hits, yes or no. And a lot of dungeon crawling games that I found, like they make attacking just, I think, a little bit too convoluted. Like, I understand that people love those complex systems, but sometimes I feel like, does that complexity add fun? And most of the time I feel like it doesn't add fun, it just adds complexity for complexity's sake. Now, if you're one of these people who find fun in complexity, great, good for you. You should get those games. For me, I'm like, I can't bother with it. But this, it's very simple and straightforward, and it's fun. I really, really like this system here, especially with the dice. And I like it more than the actual control that you have with just the cards. The uncertainty that you have with the dice makes it exciting. Meaning that I was like, oh yes, I did it. Oh no, I failed. And it gets tense, especially when they're removing layer after layer of your dungeon. Because you begin with 7 rooms and they're destroying it, and like there's 1 room left. And the time that I won, there was literally 1 room left. And then here comes the legendary hero with 35 hit points. Ooh, it was rough. He hit me like 3 or 4 times and just weeded down, and I'm just like sweating bullets here. But I really recommend this if you love solo play. There's a little bit of a hurdle trying to get through the rules, but I think that I would like to do a solo play and teach everyone kind of how to play the game, and you can see me using Google Lens to translate the cards. And this one even came out with a little expansion, and there's a different way for you to play. Now, there are 2 ways for you to play this game. I've only played one of the ways. I haven't played the other way yet. I haven't even read those rules yet. And there, I believe, are 2 ways to play the expansion. So that gives you, and in fact, the expansion is also for 2 players. So this gives you a chance to revisit the game and explore those mechanics a little bit more. And for what it's worth, like this is like a nice 20-minute solo game that's just really fun, and it fits in a nice bag. The dice themselves are pretty solid wooden dice, so it just works really, really well. I strongly recommend Last Dungeon dice. Next is an older game. That's right, you can buy new and old games from Tokyo Game Market. This is 5x5 Zoo from Akazu brand, famed designer Hasashi Hayashi. Right now, he's getting a lot of buzz because he designed Yokohama, and it's being re-released later this year. Now, although that edition looks very, very nice, I do think the TMG Deluxe edition just blows it out of the water. But if you're new to Yokohama and you want to pick up that new one, go for it. But we're not here about talking about Yokohama. We're here to talk about 5x5 Zoo. You have inherited a zoo, and you're just going to make the best of it. This is a very simple tile drafting, tile placement game. During the game, there will be 3 rounds, and you're going to slowly draft these certain animals and place them in your zoo, these tiles. And in addition to the tiles that you're drafting, you're also drafting meeples, and you're drafting little cubes. And these are going to be really important. You're going to draft like doors and little crowns. And then after all the drafting is done and you're placing these tiles onto your zoo, the round will tell you that these customers are going to come in from the west gate, the north gate, the south gate, or the east gate. And then you take your cubes and your meeples and then slowly create like a trail of breadcrumbs, like Mancala style, around there. And you want to make sure that the cube or the meeple match the animal or tile that you're visiting. And each time you do that, you get a point. And if it's a popular one, meaning that it has like the little crown token, you get another point. And some of the tiles have doors or walls that you can't walk through, so that's why you place a door there. And if you walk through a door, you get a point. Pretty simple scoring. The twist here is that at the end of the round, you're gonna lose all your cubes. The meeples, they can stay forever, but the cubes, well, they're gonna be gone. And then you just wash, rinse, repeat that for 3 rounds, and then that's the game. There is some agency with some end game scoring about, longest wall, if you have certain types of customers at certain size angles, or if you build animals at certain locations on their zoo, you get some sort of bonus. If you get like 2 birds or 2 cats, or you get like 2 green or 2 orange, I think orange is parakeets, then you get like extra points. I can speak English. English is not hard. But this is a very light and approachable game, and it's actually really solid. The only problem I have is that, well, it came out in 2020, and it's just not pretty. And it's not just not pretty. I mean, it's functional. It's very, very clear. Even though everything's written in Japanese, you can look at it and completely understand what's supposed to happen and how you score. Like the iconography, ultra clear, like it is with every Akazu brand game. But there are some style of life choices, things that they could have developed and designed that's more in tune with the 2020s, such as you have a player aid, but all that information that's on the player aid could have been on the player board or on the main board itself. Like there is no need to have that anymore. You could have put that information somewhere else. There are like phases to the game. You could put those phases on the player boards along with the scoring instead of looking at the player aid. So that could have been gone. There's a deck of cards where you flip over the cards and that'll tell you what color cube you get. And that seems, I don't know, like you didn't really need it. You could have said like put the cubes into a cup, any cup from home, and then you just randomly draw one. I think that is equally viable and would save you money. There's a scoreboard, and the scoreboard is very, very like 20-aughts or 2010s, where it's just, a line of numbers. And I think that could have been, you could have done something different there. You could have like a score track around like the main board, and you could design the main board differently. I think that are just a couple of design choices where it could have been done a little bit differently. And on the main board, there are all these little tiles showing that if you draft from there, then you get that cube. Why do you have those tiles? You just throw them away and just use the cubes that you have. Just put them on the main board. That just seems to be like you're just cutting down your expenses, so that way it's not as expensive. And what I mean when I say this is that I think this is a really solid tile laying game. And when I look at today's market, when I see games like World Wonders, I think World Wonders is a really solid game. Is it super novel and innovative? No, but it's a very pleasant experience and I enjoyed it. But the quality of the components, the quality of the artwork, and just makes it shine on the table and look super rad. World Wonders This is a solid game. You should definitely go check it out. And I think that if 5x5 Zoo had that treatment, it would be just as successful. So I think this really needs another publisher to come along to put the money into the artwork and really develop it and then put it out internationally. And I think it would sell well. With the right artwork and the right tweaks to the UI and UX design, yeah, I think this can be picked up really well. This is what I would rank right now as a 7. And how I rank with the 7, meaning that it's not a game that I would initially suggest, but if you suggested it, no hesitation, I'll say yes. Level 6 would be that I wouldn't suggest it, but if you said so, I would hesitate, maybe suggest another game. But if you really insisted, then I would play it. 8 is something that I would suggest, that, hey, we should play this game. I think it's good. So this falls at a 7 for me, and I could see that with the right development, with the right artwork, the right like UI and UX, and the right table presence with 3D components, I think that this could become an 8. And easily could become like a 9 or 10 for a nice gateway game because it's very, very approachable and very easy to understand. Up next is Politrickers, love the pun, from Jupiter's Club. Vote for your future. Vote for me. Now, this is not the box of Politrickers. This is just like some little artwork that came with the game. I put it on this box. I chose this box because it fits the actual case of the game, and it's a DVD case. That's right, the game came in a DVD case. I can't be bothered to put everything back into this because look how thin this is. This fit a game, a full game. But if you open it up, well, you see one of the components of the game, and it's a CD. That's right, a CD. I don't know what's on the CD. There's music on here, apparently. I put it into, I don't have a CD player because who has a CD player these days? But if you wanted background music, you can use it. And this is a component of the game. Yeah, you're just politicians and cats. Anthropomorphic cats that are politicians running to get elected. And this is a trick-taking game, has great, fantastic artwork. The components are nice. You have wooden components. You have like these little components that you flip, whether it's like white or black to show what political party you're on. And you're putting these pieces down. The artwork on the cards is fantastic. The suits of the cards are just wild. And there's so much going for this game. I wanted to love this game, but I didn't. Now, I will say that the game is significantly better at the 5 player count. Maybe the 4, but definitely the 5. Definitely not 3 at all. The box says 3 to 5, and you could play it like at 3, but it's like you could play poker at 2. I don't recommend it. But this game really sings best at the 5 player count. So the twist with Politrickers is that you're going to belong to a political party, and then let's say you lead. And whatever you lead, if you are part of my political party, well then you must follow suit. If you're part of my opposition party, well then you cannot follow suit. You cannot follow what I lead with. So if I begin with welfare, well then you have to play another suit other than welfare. If you can't follow your party's suit, well then you just switch parties and then you just join the other party. If you cannot follow either party, well then you would yell out innovate or create this new thing, and then every player's card that's been played up until you will get flipped over and they won't be counted to judge who won the trick. Wild stuff. Absolutely wild. Now, on to who actually wins the trick. Well, you're going to look at the 2 parties and add up the numbers of all their sums. So whichever one became the highest majority is the popular vote, and the lowest one is the minor vote. And whoever spent the lowest card in the majority wins the trick. Whoever spent the most in the minority becomes like the big spender, and they get to take a little politician token and put it onto their cat. Meaning that if they could do that, well then they could add it to the center. How do you add it to the center? Well, if you win the trick, you could take your little token and add it to the center. And the center has a scale of white or black, and whichever political party you're on, you'll add your piece to that scale. Pretty simple so far. But there's also like these black economy cards, and it's just one. These are like the super trump. And if you play that, then you'll automatically win unless someone else plays an economy card, and there's 4 in the deck, and then they would win it. But whoever has the most economy cards at the end of the game loses 1 point. Yeah, and there are negative points, but not many. If you're still following with how to play the game can end in a multitude of ways, which I find really interesting. That scale can tip, meaning that if you ever have to add more than 6 people on here, like 7 people on one side, then it's going to tip, and then whoever was on here will score a negative point per politician that's here, and whoever's on here will get +1. If it maintains balance, meaning that there's no more than 6 on either side, well then whoever had the majority gets +1. Pretty simple. And there is one other way, which I really haven't seen, and that is if you need to add a piece to the scales, but there aren't any here, well then you become disgraced as a politician, and then you get negative points and everyone else gets positive points. It's wild stuff here. So where I'm at in this game is that I think there are just too many layers. And I think it's just none of those layers add to the experience of the game. And I kind of wish it was a little bit more streamlined to be a little bit smoother. There are a lot of really great ideas. The ideas of a political party that you're switching allegiances and you're trying to do that balance. I just feel that there are a lot of interesting things here, a lot of interesting wrinkles, but I think it falls short of the delivery. And it's a shame too because the assets are so amazing. The game looks beautiful. And I kind of want to create like my own variant and then post it online because I still want to play games with these cards because they look phenomenal. And that is Politrickers, play it with 4 or 5. Next might be one of my favorite trick-taking games that I've ever played, and it's Trick Stakes. Yes, welcome to Japan. They have puns for their titles and their trick-taking games. But Trick Stakes is a trick-taking game set in the Kentucky Derby. Like you're just horse racing. You're betting on horses. It's wild. As soon as I saw that theme, I was like, boom, I'm all in. I found out it's by Kawasaki Factory, which has made a lot of really cool games in the past. Like R Echo was like the big one that they had, and it came out with the anniversary edition last year. Boom, I was in. So Kawasaki Factory, horse track racing, trick taking, I'm in, and I'm so happy it really delivered. Wait till you hear about it. You have these cards that you'll lay out this little track, and you'll have cards for the horses. And there's like white, black, brown, and silver, and you'll see the horses racing towards the end. Gameplay is quite simple. It's a simple must-follow trick-taking game. The twist here is that whoever wins the trick, well, that horse is going to advance on the racetrack. By how much? Well, you're going to look at the card that you use to win the trick, and there will be little arrows on the side, and you're going to advance your horse that many spaces. And the interesting part is that while you have 12, which is like the high card, it has 1 triangle, but like to advance 1 space. But the lower value cards have like 4 or 5 spaces, so your horse just skyrockets down the track. Really interesting. So far, so good. Must follow, you win the trick, you advance your horse up the race. Pretty good so far. But the best wrinkle of all is that before each round, you bid. And the bidding is just so much fun. You can either bid for 1 horse to win, and it doesn't even have to be your horse. Or if you're feeling dangerous, you could gamble on which 2 horses are coming first and second. And it doesn't matter which order. So long as you get those 2 horses are in first and second, you're gonna get a big payout. So and that alone, that wrinkle makes it so much fun. Because you're gonna be playing a horse and you're gonna be thinking, okay, I'm kind of done. I don't want the lead anymore because the lead is not that good to have in this game. So I'm gonna play a low card or semi-low card. And then you're gonna see everyone else play an even lower card and you're thinking, whoa, do people want me to win the race? Like it's just wild. And throughout you play the hand, you're slowly discovering who is bidding for which horse. Like you get a sense of idea of like, oh, people want this horse to win and people do not want this horse to win at all. And it's really fascinating. What's really cool is that even though there are 4 horses, sometimes you get a pair of players where like they both go like white, silver, white, silver. So you want white, silver to be white first, silver second, and the other person wants silver first and white second, and they're gonna work in tandem with each other. And when you find that like throughout the hand, oh, it's so much fun. Because then you're trying to rhythm with each other and try to make sure that your horses are coming out on top. Really fascinating. Now, another layer above that, because there are so many layers here that we're going to go through. There's no trump in this game. Instead, they have these little whip cards, and you have 2 of them, and you could use as many as you want on your turn, but you only get to refresh one every round. But on your turn, you can play a card and then use your whip, and even if you're leading, you could do this and be like, this is the new lead suit. Essentially, it's like this is the trump for this particular trick. And so you kind of want to short suit yourself, especially when you're burning cards at the beginning. And that way, when a card comes up that you're out of the suit for, you can play another card and say and this is trump. And it's really interesting. What's even cooler is that if someone else, like if this person leads yellow, green, yellow, because they play green because they didn't have yellow, and then you play green with your whip card and say, well, green is the actual trump now, and then this is low and this is high, and you wanted this horse to win. These layers are so interesting. Like you can force the horse that you're wanting to win to move up ahead. And seeing that can be nail biting and so intense. I absolutely love it. But we haven't even gotten to the last wrinkle. The last wrinkle is that you don't collect your tricks in this game. You have your own discard pile. Why, you may ask? Because, well, just like Loop, which is a really solid hand-shedding ladder climbing game, the cards that you have are tied to the horse. So all the cards that I have in my hand, and I'm playing the white horse, well, they're stuck forever with the white horse. So in the next round, I take this horse and I put it to the next player. So they get my entire hand that they saw, as well as the horse. And trying to remember what the horses had, and which cards they had, which suits that they were short in, adds another layer to the game. And it's really fun. It really works really well. And the last layer, I know there's so many layers to this game that I absolutely love, but when the horses come in, they're going to be ranked. So at the beginning, like each horse has an odd of 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. But then after each race, after each hand, the first place gets +0, second place gets +1, third is +2, last place is +3. So the horses have different scoring values. And when you bet, you're going to win the odds of that. So if one horse has an odds of 5 and you pick that one to win, you're going to get 5 points. If you picked 2 horses to win, well, you're going to add up the odds. So like this horse had odds of 3, this had a horse had odds of 5. So then you get 8 points. And if one of those horses is yours, you're going to score even more. If you're first place, you get 5. If you're second place, you get 3. So it's just so much fun. And you get to see horses that typically come in 3rd and 4th. Well, then people are going to be bidding on those horses to score even more points. It's just really, really interesting. One horse had like a lot of 12s, and people are like, okay, well, I know which horse has a lot of 12s. I'm going to try and vote for them to win because I know that they have high 12s. But then you're also remembering which horse is like short of green. And it's, the layers of this work so well. And it's one of my favorite trick-taking games by far now. And it's just so exhilarating. And I think all the wrinkles that were added to it all work in unison to make the game more fun and more approachable. This is such a phenomenal game. I love this game. One of the best ones from Tokyo Game Market. Tokyo Game Market is all about wild, innovative games, and occasionally you find a gem. It's the gem. Woo! We are done. 20 games in 1 month. I played through so many games this month with a lot of people. Thank you to everyone who's played games with me. Thank you to my wife who spent time playing games with me. I get to play all these games. I found the ones that I really resonate with, and I'm going to explore those even more. If you have any questions about any of the games, any of the 20 games that I had in this series, please comment below and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Once again, my name is Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. If this is your first time watching Cardboard East, well then stick around, enjoy some of the videos. We got lots of playlists for you to explore. There's a top 100. You can watch this series of all 20 new games coming from Japan, except for this one, and some games came from Korea. Either way, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.